Welcome to Musa Bytes. Here we make complex technology simple and accessible for everyone.
All right, we are living in this just incredible era of generative AI. I mean, it can create art, it writes code, it can answer pretty much any question you throw at it. But as these amazing tools get more and more powerful, they're developing a massive appetite. So let's really dive into this. What's the real hidden cost of running this whole AI revolution?
So here's the plan for today. First, we're going to explore the big problem with modern AI. Then, we'll look at nature's surprisingly efficient solution. After that, we'll define the cutting-edge field that's trying to copy it, see how it's actually being built, and finally, understand the collaboration that's needed to create the future of computing.
Okay, let's kick things off with the big problem. You know, the very foundation of this current AI boom, well, it has a serious sustainability crisis just brewing right under the surface.
And here's the crucial point. The way we're building AI right now, it can't last. We're basically using a brute force approach, just throwing more and more processing power at bigger and bigger models. And what that's led to are systems that are, to put it bluntly, just way too resource hungry. I mean, think about this. We're talking about single AI training runs that can have the same carbon footprint as hundreds of flights across the Atlantic. That's wild.
And this really shows you the true scale of the problem. We're talking about just massive energy consumption. Get this. Some estimates suggest the AI industry could use as much electricity as the entire country of the Netherlands by 2027. Insane, right? And then you add the shocking amounts of fresh water needed just to keep these massive data centers from literally melting down. So this whole model of constant, intensive retraining on gigantic data sets, it's not just inefficient. It's a huge potential roadblock for the entire future of AI.
So, okay, if our current method is totally broken, where do we even look for a better one? Well, it turned out scientists are turning to the most sophisticated and maybe more importantly, the most efficient computer ever known, the one that's sitting right inside your head.
And this really illustrates the fundamental difference perfectly. Conventional AI hardware, it's always on. It's constantly processing data, constantly burning energy. It's kind of like leaving every single light in your house on 24/7. The brain, on the other hand, is so much smarter. It uses what's called event-based communication. That means neurons only fire when they have something important to say. It's incredibly efficient. I mean, it performs all these complex tasks using only about as much power as a dim 20-watt light bulb. The difference is just staggering. You know, this quote from the research, it really says it all. The brain's elegant, super efficient design is the model we have to copy. It proves you can have absolutely incredible power without those insane, unsustainable energy demands. The whole secret is in how it communicates. And that brings us to the field of science that's dedicated to this exact mission. It's called neuromorphic computing. It's all about building a better, way more efficient AI by literally taking inspiration from the brain's own architecture. So, what is it exactly? Well, neuromorphic computing is this really fascinating mashup of a bunch of different fields. You've got insights from neuroscience telling us how the brain works. Then you combine that with materials science and electronics to build totally new kinds of hardware. And then you use computer science to write the software that brings the whole thing to life. It's a true team effort. And you know, the hardware has evolved so rapidly to try and meet this goal. This timeline gives you a great snapshot. It really started back around 2011 with what they called silicon neurons. Basically circuits that just mimicked a neuron firing. Fast forward to 2020, and researchers are using new nanomaterials that act a lot more like real brain cells. But now we're seeing these things called memristive devices, and these are a total game changer. Why? Because they can replicate synaptic plasticity, which is just the brain's ability to strengthen or weaken the connections between its neurons. Think about that. That's not just processing information, that's the actual physical basis of learning and memory itself. So cool.
And look, this isn't just a cool theory anymore. This is happening right now. Researchers are actively building and testing these new brain-inspired systems. So let's take a look at how they're actually putting it into practice.
Okay, so a key technology making all this possible is the spiking neural network, or SNN for short. Now, unlike traditional AI that's just constantly chugging through mountains of data, SNNs work just like the brain does. They send out these short, super efficient bursts of information. They call them spikes, but only when needed. See, this is that event-based communication we were talking about earlier, and it is the absolute key to their incredible efficiency. And get this, these SNNs are already producing some incredible results across so many different areas. This is just a handful of examples from active research. They're making reinforcement learning way more efficient. They're building smarter speech recognition systems that actually understand context better.
designing low-power circuits for our phones, and even developing image sensors that see more like a human retina. The potential here is just enormous.
But here's a really crucial point. Building the future of AI. It's not a job for just one person or even one single field of study. To truly succeed, this is going to require a level of collaboration that's, well, pretty much unprecedented. This whole thing really rests on a four-pillar collaboration. First, you need the neuroscientists to keep decoding the brain's blueprint. Then, you need the electronics experts to actually invent and build the new hardware. After that, you need computer scientists to design the smart algorithms to run on that hardware. And finally, you need roboticists to test these new forms of AI out in complex, messy, real-world environments. Every piece is essential.
So as we start to wrap this up, I really want to leave you with a question. We spent decades trying to build intelligent machines from scratch. But what if the secret wasn't to invent something totally new, but to learn from this masterpiece of engineering that's been refined over billions of years? So just think about it. What does our world look like when technology finally starts to learn and think, not with brute force, but with the quiet elegance and incredible efficiency of a biological brain? That was today's Bite from Musa Bytes.